Alright everybody, this is one I've been wanting to do a video on for a while now. Since I'll give you a quick thing about me. I am a West Coaster. I am from the West Coast. I am from Washington. Okay? And as such, you should understand, you know how I should feel about the other states along the West Coast, our southern brothers. Below us, from underneath Washington, you have Oregon. And of course, Oregon's alright. I mean, I don't hate Oregon. It kind of feels like an estranged cousin, you know? It's sort of similar to Washington, but it's a little more bizarre. It can be a very strange place. I mean, Portland literally has like 15 one-way streets in a row. My own brother goes there sometimes, and he says like every time he goes there, it feels like the streets have been rearranged just for his visit. But the worst state on the West Coast, by far, is California. Can the damn thing please just fall off into the ocean already? I'm just sick of hearing about the damn place. It is a literal hellhole. And you know what? Now I've got some folks agreeing with me. From reason, free minds and free markets, Californians are fleeing the state's progressive policies. California's progressive political imperatives are having such glaring real-world repercussions that it's hard to keep ignoring them. This is a quote from the author of the article. It says, "I remember getting that phone call 20-some years ago while at my desk at the Lima News, which was an easier newspaper to the Orange County Register. Would I like to come to California to work at the Register?" the editor asked. "Why, yes," I eagerly said. "When do I start? I forgot to ask about the salary." When I told my wife the exciting news, she asked if we were going to weigh the pros and cons of such a big move from our cozy Ohio town to sprawling Southern California. "No," I answered, "there's nothing to discuss. We're going to California, and unlike the words in the Led Zeppelin song, it's not with an aching in my heart. After crossing the border near Needles in the 110 degrees desert heat, I fell in love with the place and never looked east again. Like others from the Midwest and East, I had long dreamed of the Golden State. By then, of course, California already ceased to be the magnet it was in the earlier decades. The number of Americans who left California for other states had surpassed those from other states who moved here. Immigration rates and birth rates were still growing, however, which has propelled our population from 30 million in 1990 to nearly 40 million now. Nearly is the key word. California has been inching toward the 40 million mark for some time, but hasn't reached it. Its growth rate last year of 0.47% is the slowest in recorded history. The exodus to other states has accelerated. International immigration has slowed. Even births are lower this year than last year. We're a long way from the gold rush, when fortune seekers from around the world tripled California's population in a flash. Based on the latest census data, the domestic migration to places such as Texas, Arizona, and Oregon has outstripped domestic migration for 8 years in a row. Anecdotal stories abound. One friend who met me shortly after moving to Fullerton is now a successful Texas realtor who specializes in relocating Californians to Dallas. Another California acquaintance who now lives in Pennsylvania helps our state's businesses relocate at social events. People always talk about the states they are considering moving. Recent surveys show that 53% of Californians are considering moving elsewhere. Such ideas used to be hearsay. I've lived in 7 states plus the District of Columbia, and quite frankly, the rest of the country seems drab in comparison to California, but lately I'm starting to think these California refugees have made a wise choice. Well, you could always come here up north, but then again, you'd also have to suffer through the governorship of Obama Jr., his just sickening little sock puppet. Why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? Why am I doing that? Jay Inslee. Had to give my memory a little jog. Yeah, I call him Obama Jr. or his dirty little sock puppet because, while Obama was still president, he pretty much just mirrored and echoed everything he said, like a sickening little parrot. And now, he's just degenerated into a hyper-liberal idiot who literally just is like a gross mirror reflection of Obama. Is he even his own person? Anyway, another California acquaintance who now lives in Pennsylvania helps our state's businesses relocate at social events. People always talk about the states where they're considering moving. Yeah, so 53% of Californians are considering moving elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. We've reached the tipping point where California's progressive political imperatives are having such glaring real-world repercussions that it's hard to keep ignoring them. Why are people leaving? Top of the list is home affordability. The national median home price is around $227,000. The median single-family home price in California tops $600,000. In Orange County, that median price is around $700,000 in the entire Bay Area. The median price for homes and condos is $860,000 in San Francisco. You'll need a cool $1.7 million listed price to get a median priced abode, and it's not going to be special. Our cost of living is astronomical in many areas. Gasoline prices are $1.29 a gallon, more than the national average. Even California's notoriously overpaid government retirees are moving elsewhere. Man, it seems like the only thing good to ever come out of California was thrash metal. Megadeth, Metallica, several others. Otherwise, California, yeah, it can just go straight to hell. Hell, California is hell, it looks like. Why else would so many people be migrating if it wasn't? But this is the fault of public policy. Regulations and fees can add 40% or more to the cost of every new house. Slow growth rules in the lawsuit-generating California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA, impede housing construction. The state is vastly underbuilding the number of housing units it needs to even keep with its slowing population. Gas prices are high, not only because of our high taxes, because of the special California-only formulation that limits competition. They're literally limiting corporate competition. Ugh. Competition is necessary for capitalism to function. Are you kidding me right now? Competition drives prices down and product quality up. Because in order to get more people to buy your stuff, you need to make it more affordable and better than the other guy's shit. If you eliminate competition, prices go up and quality tends to go down. We've seen it time and time again. The WWE, professional wrestling, is a perfect example. Once they swallowed up all the real competition, ticket and product prices did start going up, and overall product quality went spiraling downward. Because they had nothing to compare themselves to, nothing to compete against. I suppose they could have tried to compete with themselves, but how long could they sustain something like that? We all know about our nationality high tax burdens. Our property taxes are reasonable thanks to Proposition 13. But liberal groups are gunning for its protections on commercial properties in a 2020 ballot measure. They'll probably be coming for you. Home protection's next. Regulatory burdens make it tougher to grow a business here than elsewhere. Recently, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 5 into law, which messes with our ability to earn a living. That law forbids many types of contract labor. But many people don't want to be 9-to-5 wage slaves and prefer piecing together various contract jobs. Businesses aren't going to respond by hiring everyone as a permanent worker. This will squelch job growth, especially in California's innovative tech economy. We're also facing statewide rent controls, which will further depress housing availability, and just wait until lawmakers make good on their promise to provide single-payer health care. I've been to all 58 counties and still love the terrain, climate, culture, and beaches. But if I were to get that call today, I'd have that long discussion with my wife before agreeing to move here. Because their crazy liberal economic policies are actually getting in the way of the normal day-to-day function of capitalism. It's actually making life harder on these people. Not to mention all the sanctuary cities, the illegal immigration, the disease rate, which has also been growing in California. And they didn't cover this one in this article. It's literally becoming like hell on earth to live in California. Thank God I live in Washington. Sure, our rent prices here in Washington be very mixed. like Seattle alone, the living wages and living prices, the disparity between the two is incredible. Living standards in Seattle are huge. Olympia is equally bad in its own way. You get out into the smaller cities like where I live, and things become a lot saner, a lot quicker. You get some pretty decent property prices. You get good rental prices. You get fair quality for all your living spaces and so forth. You get relatively affordable electricity and water. It's a nice place. All in all, Washington is highly sustainable, so long as you stay away from the really big cities. You stay in some of the smaller places and you're in the clear. Of course, there's substance abuse issues. There's in some places there's even roaming gangs of meth heads. But we're still quite a bit better than California. Sure, there's danger, there's crime, there's substance abuse, but at least we can have something resembling an appropriate quality of life. As opposed to California, where you can very easily get sick and die, or even end up losing your house. And growing a business in Washington is relatively easy. I actually know some folks who've done it. So there you go. Washington is literally like hell. Or not Washington, I mean California. Excuse me. California is literally like hell on earth. And in comparison, Washington is like, I don't know, purgatory. It's certainly not heaven. That much is for sure. It's definitely not heaven. Anyway, peace.